Terrific. We have to take a short break, but we'll be right back with UMass Lowell student Michelle Bradley and actually 2 other student interviewers and yourselves. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. What's cooking in Mill City?
What's cooking in Mill City?
Hi, I'm Michelle Bradley, and we're here continuing our discussion with Dr. Ferrant and Paulette on the community partnerships. Here with me is Ashlyn Grady. She is a senior liberal arts major and will be graduating in December. And also we have Evan Parkhurst, who will be a senior. He's a senior English major and will also be graduating in December. So thanks, guys, for coming. Dr. Ferrant, as mentioned before, in April you're going to be having the CETA conference coming up. Can you kind of tell our audience about it and maybe your involvement?
About every 2 years we've had a conference, the committee on, this is a strangely named committee, and don't ask me why it's called what it's called, the Committee on Industrial Theory and Assessment. I have no idea what that means.
Oh.
It was named before I came, and so, anyway, I'm one of the co-chairs along with Linda Silka, and so we had the idea a couple years ago that with all the partnerships going on at the university, and when we travel around to other conferences and just keep up with the literature, we noticed that there are partnerships like this going on at hundreds of other colleges and universities all over the world, actually. And so the idea was, what if we could figure out a way to get a whole bunch of people together in Lowell to show off what we're doing and brag a little bit about what we're doing, but at the same time to listen to other people talking about what they're doing, and hopefully between everybody in one place for a couple of days at the same time, people could get better at what they do. And so we decided we would have this conference, and we sent out a description of what we were trying to do, used a lot of listservs and webs and email and all that sort of stuff, and we got back over 200 proposals from different people at different universities all over the world interested in coming to go to Lowell. And so we sifted through them and boiled it down to about 60 people to invite to talk about their research and their partnerships and what they're doing. And so those people will be coming along with almost 20 people from colleges and universities in developing countries all over the world, because there's a lot of stuff going on in those campuses as well. And we're actually helping to buy the plane tickets and things for a lot of folks from those places because they can't afford to.
Incentive to come.
Right, they can't afford to buy the tickets. So, but we wanted to have that diversity in the conference, and so it's at the end of April. Students are more than welcome to come. It's free. There's free food.
Also
and
incentive.
there's a good party at the Revolving Museum on Wednesday night, and another good party Thursday night at the Boot Mill Museum. So you can just come for the parties if you want. Pretend you went to something, and just come into the to the parties if you want. And you'll see a lot of interesting people doing these sorts of things from, like I say, everywhere in the world. There's people coming from universities everywhere: Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, Texas, India, Bangladesh, South Africa. It's going to be wild.
Great, thank you. And Paulette, would you like to talk about your involvement as far as the community goes?
Well, as part of the Community Advisory Board, we've been talking about how we could be involved to demonstrate the partnerships that the university has with the different community groups around the table, and they range from Middlesex Community College to Lowell Community Health Center to Casey Family Services to people who have no organizational affiliations. And generally these meetings that are once a month for us to all get together usually have about 20-25 people sitting around the table. Some people who are university people, but mainly community people. So I know that's the role that different members will take on the advisory board will be helping to publicize this, to help inform people about exactly what the meat of the conference is going to be about, to act as ambassadors to people who are here, to go to those great parties that Bob was talking about, to help facilitate some of the logistics around the conference. And it really is. It looks like it's going to be really exciting, and the fact that that many people are willing to come to Lowell in April, of all the exotic places one could go, really points to not only the value of the conference, but what people know about Lowell in terms of its history, the rich history it has, and how it's reinvented itself a number of times and where it's going now.
Great, thank you. And Ashlyn, would you like to start off the question?
Yeah, I was actually wondering how a student would go about getting involved in CETA and what would be some of their tasks or responsibilities once they are involved.
Well, we have meetings once a month, and they're open meetings for anybody that wants to come. So if students wanted to come, they'd be more than welcome to start showing up there.
The last Tuesday of the month, isn't it?
Oh, the Community Advisory Board meetings are the last Tuesday of the month. If students were interested in that would be terrific. The actual meetings of the committee to plan conferences and do the sorts of things we're doing are at 2:30 in the afternoon on the first Tuesday of the month. Okay. And so if students came, I mean, we have actually a lot of graduate students participate. We've not had undergraduates. You raised a good point. I wonder how we could do a better job maybe recruiting some undergrads too, because I'm sure there'd be interest. But students participate like anybody else. I mean, there's no sort of big shots. Just because you're a professor doesn't mean you're smarter than anybody else. And so it's a very democratic process, the same as with the Community Advisory Board. Everybody's there. Actually, a lot of students come to the Community Advisory Board meetings. Last night, for example, we were talking about issues related to transportation and how to make it easier for students living on campus to get to the downtown, since there's a lot of problems with buses and shuttles and all sorts of things. And students were there giving a lot of good ideas about how to do that, and also how to figure out how to get more student-friendly businesses downtown and things like that. So student input's really important part of the community. So that would be the way to do it. We're trying to figure out a way to do a lot more with residence life next year, and we were talking last night about planning a freshman orientation that would actually be downtown, instead of having so much of the freshman orientation activities are on campus. Actually have something on one of the first nights of school somewhere downtown, so students would actually know there's something down there to go to. So there's lots of room for people's energy. That's a good question. I have to now think about how to get more undergraduates involved. That's a really good point.
Okay, thanks.
And Evan?
Oh, yes, it sounds to me as though your organization is being very generous and giving a lot to these community partnerships. I was wondering how exactly the university is benefiting from these partnerships.
I'll give you my take, and then maybe you might have your answer too. I think a number of things. I think one thing is that it's very clear that service learning, some of the kinds of things we're talking about, like projects where, say, in the graduate program I teach in, there's a graduate student right now, for example, working in the planning office in City Hall. Those things look real good on a resume, just like some of the stuff you're doing right here, that you produced and directed this TV show, right? Well, by the same token, students involved in, working at the community health center, or, working at a daycare center, or in an after-school program doing tutoring or whatever, those are things, I mean, it's a good thing to do, but it's also something that makes you get a better understanding of what the work environment is like. It's in a way a rehearsal, because some of the people that you might be doing these things with might actually end up hiring you. If they like the way that you did what you did, it's better to hire you and then take a risk on a stranger. So we get things back that way. It also, I mean, it's a public university, which I said before in the earlier segment, and so I think that, I mean, we're in challenging times with the budget. What we get back, I think, is that we get people who are in the community and see the value of the university, and so when our budget might be cut, we have allies who would say, well, no, that would be a shame to cut that. That institution's really important. Students really help do these things in the city, but if we sat there as though we had like a moat around us or something, and we're thinking we were all so special, somebody could say, oh, cut their funds, who cares? They're invisible anyway. So it's a lot of that, but it's also, again, for me, the way I think about the world, it's also the right thing to do. A public educational institution should be doing this stuff just because it should be doing it. Whether we get